Legend Total War here, and today we're doing another tier list using Tier Maker, this time covering the Warriors of Chaos. We're almost at the end of the series because we've almost covered all of the factions. There's just the Chaos factions remaining, being the Warriors of Chaos, Norska, and the Beastmen. And today we're doing the Warriors of Chaos for no reason whatsoever. Anyway, as always, this is going to be based off Legendary Difficulty Campaign, very hard battle difficulty, no mods, no multiplayer, on Ultra Unit Scale. If you're not playing on those settings, then you're going to get a differing result, probably. Alright, so we're going to organize this based on melee infantry first, then cavalry, and then monsters, and then the artillery will be at the very end of it. Okay, so let's start with the melee infantry. Now, I think it's really important to note that how the Warriors of Chaos play at the moment, it's probably the most simple faction in the game. They don't have any special campaign mechanics. They've got one of the most basic tech trees. Their building system is super basic. All they do is build armies and blow up stuff. That's the only thing they do. Now, their upkeep cost doesn't matter that much, at least not after you get past the beginning hump of the campaign, because as long as you're demolishing stuff and fighting loads of battles, you'll always be getting enough favor to pay for the troops, as long as they're actually doing a lot of, as long as these units are actually good in combat. So I'll be taking that kind of stuff into consideration, not necessarily their upkeep cost. So for example, if one unit is cheap but doesn't dish out a lot of damage, then that's not really high value. But if a unit is expensive in terms of upkeep but dishes out a lot of damage, then that unit will actually make you more money than it costs compared to the other ones. Alright, so melee infantry. Alright, starting with Marauders. Now, when you start off your campaign as the Warriors of Chaos, whether you start off as Archaon, Sigvald, or Kolek, you start off with a tier 1 horde with the Marauder building already built, allowing you to build some really basic units. If we have a look at it really quickly, just this one here, you get access to the Marauder Horsemen, the Chaos Marauders, and the Chaos Warhounds. Now, if you at the very start of your campaign, because you always start off with 2 growth, if you demolish this building here, the Tribal Relic, build up to Tribal Gathering straight away, on tier 3 you can build the Blasphemous Icon, so you can basically bypass the Marauder straight away and go almost straight to Warriors of to Chaos Warriors. So that is what I would recommend doing for the most part, unless maybe you're playing as Sigvald. So I'm gonna put both of these in the trash, because you can just skip them and just get better units. Now, the problem with these 2 units here is that they're so heavily punished by very hard battle difficulty that they're not worth using. They're not going to be able to compete even with Kislevite basic troops, and they're going to be dealing with getting shot and also being outnumbered. So this is a unit that is just never going to dish out a lot of value for you. So my advice is just skip them. Now, moving on to the Warriors of Chaos, these are definitely not ones that you should prioritize long term, but since you can't just go immediately towards your best units, you've got to get some basic units. So in the early stages of the campaign, the Chaos Warriors are kind of the way to go. So we've got the shielded variant here. This one's the tier 2 one, and then the other Warriors of Chaos go up to tier 3. So sorry, Chaos Warriors. I gotta make that distinction. Not Warriors of Chaos. Like, Warriors of Chaos is the entire faction, but Chaos Warriors are these 3 units. So this one here being the shielded variant, not necessarily lots of armor pierce. I'm gonna put it at B tier. This is definitely a unit that you want to have in your army in the early stages, but don't spam it. You're gonna need some support for it if you can. Because it's a bit slow. That's the biggest problem with these units. But having a unit that, at the very early stages of the campaign, like turn 3 or 4, that has 100 armor, has silver shields, good amount of weapon strength, good melee attack and melee defense, that's really going to come in handy, as opposed to Marauders. These guys here will be worth 10 Marauders over the course of a campaign. And then we've got the Halberd variant, which I'm also going to put at B tier, even though it's a tier above it, so you get it a little bit later, because it's anti-large, and it's a pretty good anti-large unit. However, the Great Weapons variant, I'm actually going to put that at C tier, because it doesn't really serve a lot of purpose. When playing as the Warriors of Chaos, you always start off in the Chaos Waste in the old world, so you have to identify who's going to be your primary enemy. Well, it's either Kislev or the Empire. So you have to understand, what are those factions' strengths that you can't really deal with very well? Missile units, fast missile units. So crossbowmen, handgunners, outriders, artillery, that kind of stuff. Now, The Empire will bring great swords later on in the campaign, but a great sword unit is pretty much a match for a regular Warriors of Chaos anyway. You don't really need the unshielded variant in the early stages of the campaign. What you need is basically shields to block those missiles, because those missiles are going to be very dangerous to you in the early stages of the campaign, especially one that can block off more than half of all shots that are coming at you. Very, very useful. And that one, you don't want to have too many of them. They're just there to get rid of, any Empire Knights or whatever. Then we move on to Chosen. Now, the thing is, Chosen are their strongest melee infantry, but just because they're the strongest melee infantry doesn't mean that they're the best. Because you're going to be getting them at tier 4, there's a big difference between getting to tier 3 and getting to tier 4. It requires a lot of growth. By the time you've gotten to Chosen, they become kind of outdated. The Empire will start using Hellstorm rocket batteries by that point. You'll be going up against more Pistoliers, Outriders, Handgunners, fast units basically. And although these guys here have excellent melee stats, the problem is that they are incredibly slow. These guys are about on the speed tier as dwarfs. Now, dwarfs can get away with having slow units because they've got lots of missile units and artillery to back them up. But Chosen don't really have that. You do have hell cannons, but I don't really recommend that strategy. They just don't gel well together against the Empire. Like, you're not going to be able to outshoot the Empire. So I'm going to put the regular Chosen at B tier because shields are awesome. You're definitely going to want them against the Empire and Kislev. And the halberds, I'm going to put that at C tier because if you're going to go for anti-large, the Chaos Warrior variant is sufficient. No need for the extra upkeep cost. It's just not going to make that big of a difference. And for the Great Weapons variant, also at C tier. Just don't really need it over the shields. Okay, then we move on to Forsaken. Forsaken are, you just don't need to worry about them. Same thing with the Aspiring Champion. So talking about the Forsaken just briefly, so they are in the Sorcerer building over here. Now this is definitely a building that you want to get as soon as possible because magic will really help soften up a lot of the Empire army, since a lot of them will be infantry-based armies coming at you, so you're going to want that Law of Fire or Metal or whatever it is that you want. But the problem with Forsaken is, like, these are your fast infantry, right? But you've got better options for speed, and they just kind of suck, basically. I don't know, they're okay, like, you can do a bit with them, but I just wouldn't prioritize them. Once you've got magic, you just kind of don't need it. They just don't hold the line as well as Chaos Warriors, so I just don't ever bother with them. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh on them. Maybe they could go into C tier. Yeah, I think I'm being a bit harsh on them. I'm going to put them at C tier because they got okay stats, and you're going to build that building anyway, so I guess that's fine. But Aspiring Champions, no, they are trash because they have super low entities. So you got 16 entities as opposed to 100 in the Chaos Warriors, or 80 in the Chosen. And even though they've got silver shields, so, that helps to block a lot of missiles, they've got magic attack, right? And I think that's the big thing about them, their magic attack. But the thing is, using magic attack against the Empire doesn't really matter, since they don't really have any units that have physical resistance. The main reason that you get Aspiring Champions for is to dealing with the vampire accounts, which are not an issue for you at any point anyway. So this is kind of like just a superfluous unit that you just don't really need. Its low entity numbers really set it below the others because they've got low health, like high health per entity but low health in total, and they've got low damage dealing. Basically, they just don't really serve any sort of purpose apart from Vanguard deployment, which, I don't know, like having one of these guys immediately die against the enemy, if that's what you really want to do, I just don't really see a great use for Aspiring Champions. They just don't fit in the roster, really. I mean, like, they're supposed to be there, but they don't. I feel like they should be doing more. Like, they should have an aura that boosts other units, but they don't have that. They've just got they've got nothing. Yeah, absolutely nothing. So yeah, that's the melee infantry. Now we move on to cavalry units. All right, starting with the Marauder cavalry, we've got the Marauder horsemen here. These are pretty good. So if we're going to talk about Marauders, really got to look at the actual building as well. So much is tied to how you're going to build up your hordes in this, so it's really important to address it. If you've gone with the route of demolishing the Marauders, and don't build it back up, which is totally fine. That's a very viable strategy. That's totally fine. You're probably going to want to ignore all of these cavalry. But if you're playing with Sigvold, maybe you're going to want to keep it. And if you are playing with Sigvold, or you've got Sigvold, as in you didn't start with Sigvold, but then you got him later on, then maybe you will want to go with the Marauder Horsemen or the various cavalry upgrades that they've got. So in that regard there, I'm going to put the Marauder Horsemen at C tier, because they're not great, considering that they're going to be outshot by a lot of archer units. They're not great in melee either. Then you've got the Axes here. I'm also going to put them at C tier. But the Marauder Horse Masters, I'm going to put them at B tier. I don't think they belong in A tier, but this is a unit that you can make work if your micro is good enough. You have to work very hard to get some wins with them. But with Sigvold, you can make this unit completely free of upkeep. But, you know, just be very careful, because if you end up losing a battle with the Warriors of Chaos, it sucks so much because you lose the entire horde and you have to start the whole building stuff up again. As long as you've not lost all of your hordes, in which case it's game over. So it's sometimes really important with the Warriors of Chaos to just go full-blown strength. These guys here can work for you, and they can work in conjunction with the Warriors of Chaos. But again, Chaos Warriors, I need to clarify. The biggest thing to consider, though, is that the more buildings that you build, the more expensive the next building is going to be to build in growth. So you can't really prioritize thinking that I'm just going to build variety in my army. You know, I'm going to have a bit of this and a bit of that and a bit of this, because the early campaign is the only part that really matters for the Warriors of Chaos. The late campaign doesn't matter. It should be easy for them. So you can't really think to yourself, oh, I know, I'm going to have 2 of these and 4 of these and 5 of these, and that's just not how it's going to work, because up until like turn 40 or 50, you're probably going to have 1 military building. So you either need to go down the road of Chaos Warriors or Marauders. If you go down both, you're going to stifle your late campaign. So just keep that stuff in mind. They do work reasonably well together, but again, they fix this stuff with the Beastmen, which we'll cover that another day. But yeah, the problem with the growth, you'll fall behind if you focus too much on variety. You really fall behind. Having mixed armies of mid-tier units by turn 80, very bad. You need to be prioritizing way stronger units. So that's why they're not getting any higher tier than that. But you can make them work. Okay, so let's move on to the Chaos Knights. Okay, so the Chaos Knights here are tier 4 and tier 5 unit. Again, they suffer from the same sort of problem that all the other units are suffering from, in that you want to prioritize building up this building first, because it reduces the upkeep cost by a ton. Let's just say you went with the Chaos Warrior building first. You're still going to require a lot of growth before you're able to build this. It does generate some income, but it is tier 4 and tier 5, so you're going to get it fairly late in the campaign, compared to other things. They don't perform amazingly well, because although they have decent stats across the board, these guys here are good at everything but master of nothing. Because as far as heavy cavalry go, the Chaos Knights, they're melee cavalry, they're not shock cavalry, and melee cavalry kind of suck because they don't have a high charge bonus. You got 66 speed. Remember what I've always said about speed? You want to have at least 75 speed on a heavy cavalry unit, or else they're going to get caught quite often. They're going to get shot by pistoliers, they're going to get shot by outriders. They're going to have a harder time catching up to archer units. You want to charge in quickly, because the quicker you charge in, the fewer volleys you're going to take to the face. So that speed really lets them down. Even though they've got shields and a lot of armor, if guns are shooting at them, you're still going to lose like most of your health before you've charged in, and then of course the melee penalties will kick in and you can barely beat a handgun unit in melee. Same problem with the Chaos Knights Lancers, but at least they do have a good charge bonus, so even if they do take a beating, they will, at least when they do charge in, they'll do some damage. I have had Doom stacks sent in with Chaos Knights, and I never thought that they were very good. So I'm going to put this one here. I don't think they belong in trash. I'm going to put this one here at C tier and this one at B tier. The building isn't terrible to build because it does provide some income, but at the same time, you got to keep in mind that making money through your horde is not how the Warriors of Chaos make favor. That's not the best way to do it. You want to just be smashing stuff up quickly. Another thing to consider is that they take 2 turns to recruit as opposed to 1. Most of these units only take 1. So it'll slow you down recruiting them a little bit. So there are issues. But the thing is, at least this one here, you do need to recruit some in order to do some of Archaon's quests. So I think you can recruit either one, but I'm going to put that one as the one to go for. Alright, then we'll go with the chariots. We've got the regular chariot, then the Gorbeast chariot. So, looking at the chariots, the regular Chaos chariot comes in at tier 3. Suffers from the same problem as all the other ones, you know. If you've got other buildings here, it costs a lot to get them in terms of growth. It's an anti-infantry. It's actually got anti-infantry, right? That's another thing with this, right? It'll say anti-infantry, but they don't actually have any anti-infantry bonus. Now, as far as I'm aware, Chaos Knights don't actually do splash damage. So, someone just wrote in anti-infantry for the sake of anti-infantry. So you be wary of the descriptions here because they can be very misleading. Neither of these units here are anti-infantry. They don't have a bonus versus it. Now what anti-infantry or anti-large does is it provides a melee attack boost and also a weapon strength boost. I'm fairly sure about that. I used to think it was just weapon strength, but people did confirm that it was actually a melee attack bonus as well, and based on my gameplay, that does seem to coincide, because my anti-large units do hit large units more often than they did infantry units, so it does seem to be a melee attack bonus. So melee attack allows you to hit more accurately, and then also dish out more damage. So that bonus versus infantry or bonus versus large is very important for specializing your particular units. So Chaos Chariots, I think they're okay, and a lot of people do like to go for the Hell Cannons, so these are all part of the same building chain. There's not a lot in here, but Chaos Chariots, Gorbeast Chariots, and Hell Cannons are favorited by some people who don't like to go with a certain Doomstack, which we'll come down to later. So, I'm going to put the Chaos Chariot at B tier. It's got 78 speed, which is definitely better than the Chaos Knights, but they're as far as chariots go, they get stuck a bit. You need to micro them a bit, so I'm going to leave them at B tier. The Gorbeast Chariots, though, these ones here have tons of mass, even though they have only 66 speed, so they're slower than these guys here, right? They have got more health, I believe. Yep. I've seen these guys make a good Doomstack. Well, decent Doomstack. They don't deserve the Doomstack status. I'm going to put this as the first A tier unit for the Warriors of Chaos. You can actually make this one work quite well. Does a hell of a lot better than a lot of these units in here, that's for sure. If you micro them correctly. You just don't want to be cycle charging back and forth. They can do a ton of damage. Okay, and in terms of cavalry, I think that, yeah, we'll conclude that for the cavalry, and now we'll just move on to the monsters section. Okay, so these guys, even though these guys here sort of fulfill the same role as cavalry, they're also classified as monsters, so whatever, bit of overlap. Okay, so the Chaos Warhounds, looking at them, we've got the Chaos Warhounds at tier 1, and the ones with poison at tier 2, so you can get them fairly early, but again, most people on legendary difficulty will probably demolish this building, but it does definitely serve a purpose. If you want to get a couple of Chaos Warhounds or hold on to the ones that you start off with, they can be quite useful. I'm going to put both of them at B tier because their primary use is not actually to dish out damage in battle, because even if you charge them into archers, they have a habit of losing, even in melee against archers, just because of the cheats, the melee cheats that even the enemy archers are going to get. These guys are going to suffer from it, but they're excellent at running down broken units. So if a unit breaks from whatever and starts running away, and of course your chosen are not bloody going to catch them, you can have these to sort of finish them off. So they can be useful to have one or two of them in the army, but I wouldn't spam them. I think that's a bad idea. And I wouldn't rely on them to do anything other than really run down units or tie down units to stop them from shooting. But even then, you can't really rely on them to actually beat them sometimes. Okay, let's talk about trolls next. Okay, so there's two variants. We've got the regular trolls and the trolls with armor. So both of them come at tier 3. One of the big problems with trolls, though, is they're separated from a lot of other buildings. So you just build that one building and all you get out of it is trolls. It just doesn't provide a lot of value, whereas other buildings provide, multiple different variety of units. So regular trolls are a fairly low leadership unit. Their base leadership is 40, but you can get their leadership up a fair bit. Reasonably okay speed, armor piercing, Siege Attacker, that's useful, but at the exact same tier, you've got Chaos Trolls Armored, which still have the same leadership, but at least they've got some armor. So, I don't know. I don't think the armor makes that much of a difference, but they're at the same tier. So what I'm going to do is put the regular Trolls at C tier, and the armored Trolls can go at B tier. I have seen a Doomstack of armored Trolls work for the Warriors of Chaos before, but I don't think it's what should be prioritized for them. Alright, next up, let's go Chaos Spawn. So Chaos Spawn are recruited from the Chaos Rift over here. So tier 4 unit. This does not belong at tier 4. Chaos Spawn are awful. They're truly an awful unit because they have 16 entities. They're really big. They're kind of slow. They're damage dealers and they're unbreakable, right? That's great and everything, except that they don't actually dish out that much damage, and they have a habit of just getting killed super quickly because, again, the enemies that you're going up against have missile units. These guys have no armor, no missile resistance. The reason that Ward Save is there because it's part of Archeon. He provides 5% Ward Save for all of his units. So this at tier 4, this is a piece of shit unit. I really don't like Chaos Spawn. Every time I get them, I regret it. So I'm going to put it under trash. At tier 4, you've just got better options. Okay, and at the same building, you've got the Manticore. Okay, biggest problem with Manticore, Rampage. Hate Rampage. Manticores as mounts are actually pretty good, but for a tier 4 unit, for a feral Manticore, Rampage is unacceptable because you just lose control of them straight away. If they didn't have Rampage, I reckon I'd put them at B tier because they would serve a lot of purpose, but because of Rampage and because it activates so early, and you have no way of getting them to stop rampaging apart from just waiting it out. But the problem is, by the time it gets waited out, they're usually dead. I would recommend just don't bother recruiting them. They're very good mounts though, but because the mounts don't rampage, they're very good. But as an actual unit, I would not rely on it. Not for a tier 4 unit, no way in hell. Okay, now let's talk about Giants. Giants are shit. For a tier 5 unit, right, in a building that only recruits Giants, it's slow. Yeah, 39 speed is pretty damn slow. And what's the main problem that you're going up against? Empire and Kislev. And if you've defeated them, then you're going up against Bretonnia and Dwarfs, or the Elves. And what do all of these units have in common? Fucking missile units, right? This is the worst unit in the game at dealing with missile units. And that is what you need to be able to deal with. For a tier 5 unit, just don't prioritize the Giants camp. It doesn't matter how cheap they are. Somebody sent in a giant Doomstack before, and it was so hard to take out even a basic army because they're just so slow. Sure, they can dish out a lot of damage. If you're going up against vampire accounts, that's great because vampire accounts don't have missile units for the most part. So really, really good. If you're going up against greenskins, that's great. But those aren't the enemies that you're going to be going up against that much. So it's okay. You can recruit them if you are going up against those factions, which again are not really a threat to you anyway. But yeah, the factions that you are going up against, this is like the worst unit that you can possibly prioritize recruiting. You can't keep up with the rest of your army. Alright, now regular Dragon Ogres here. I'm going to put them at A tier. Okay, Kolek can actually make these units completely free of upkeep, but he boosts the damage dealing ability of Shaggoth even more, so I wouldn't necessarily go for that unless you were stuck at tier 4, right? So this is a good unit. You've got a decent amount of speed, so it all comes down to what you've got better access to. You're definitely going to build this building, right? For the wizards, you definitely want to build it. But in terms of the Chaos Spawn, right, you've got a 42 speed unit, because they both serve the exact same role, right? And then you've got a 64 speed unit, right? Anti-large, so it's actually got some speciality. It doesn't matter that this unit's unbreakable. It's got way better damage dealing. It's got missile resistance, so that's really good. What's that? 25% missile resistance. They can get out of engagements that they don't want to fight, whereas this one here, if it gets caught by cavalry, they're kind of screwed. So Dragon Ogres you can make work for you fairly okay. And then we've got Shaggoths, the only unit in the Chaos roster that deserves the Doomstack status. Now, the reason why the Shaggoth performs so well is because it's good against the enemies that you're going to go up against. The Empire can't deal with Shaggoths. Neither can the Dwarfs, neither can Bretonnia. Because it comes down to this. Even though it's an anti-large unit, because it has 76 speed, right? you'll be able to outrun pretty much any Empire cavalry apart from Outriders and Pistoliers. Those are the biggest problems that you'll fight with the Dragon Ogres. But they do have a lot of missile resistance, so there's things that you can do about it. At least you can isolate them away from the rest of their army. You don't have to worry about Hellstorm rocket batteries because they don't do any damage to you. The only thing you have to worry about are cannons and Luminarchs, but these things are fast enough to close the distance. If anything is in the way of it, they will just run right over it and go and kill those units. This is a unit where the main benefit of it is its speed and its mass. Nothing gets in their way. And they're also not necessarily that difficult, that easy to shoot, because they're not as big as a giant, and because of the way that their animations work, missile units will have a little bit of a hard time shooting it. But one thing that you definitely don't want to do with Shaggots is get into a blob of melee infantry and just stay fighting. You want to be constantly hit and running. This is a unit that can run into an infantry unit, charge in, smack its weapon down, and run away without getting hit because it's got such a long reach on its weapon because it's carrying a huge hammer or axe or whatever. So really useful in that regard. So not only do you have a super strong unit, but you've got a unit that has a lot of versatility. If you're going up against cavalry, you'll beat it. If you go up against missile units, you'll beat it. If you go up against heroes, you'll beat it. You know, these things can take out Karl Franz like he was nothing. Can take out Volkmar like he's nothing. Take out Lewin Leoncourt quite easily. These will serve you in just about every situation that you're going to go up against. But they're not completely invincible. But this is by far, if you're struggling on legendary difficulty and very hard battles, and you're like, oh, I just can't get the hang of Warriors of Chaos, you need to start prioritizing learning how to use Dragon Ogre Shaggoths, because this sorts out every enemy that you can find in the game without any serious problems. You'll have an easier time with Shaggoths than any other unit. And then the final unit we're talking about is the Hell Cannon. Now, with the Hell Cannon, I'm going to put it at A tier because even though as far as an artillery unit is concerned on ultra unit scale, because it's only got one entity, it's not actually that useful because it just doesn't have as much firepower. If you're playing on smaller unit scales, Hell Cannons become really overpowered. In fact, if you're playing on small unit scale, I'd actually put it at Doom Stack, but we always do these on ultra unit scale. Now, this unit here is basically essential if you want to have melee infantry, because I understand that Shaggoth spamming is not going to be fun for everyone, but they are optimal. There is just nothing else in here comes even close to how optimal Shaggoths are. But if you are going to forego the and just forget about the Shaggoths, you know, I don't want to play that way, and you're going to go with other type of build, then I probably would recommend getting some Hell Cannons, because the only way to make some of these units viable is if you've got a Hell Cannon taking out the units that these guys here just cannot deal with, primarily missile units and artillery. These ones here are pretty good at doing that, and then these guys can more or less take out everything else. But the thing is, Dragon Ogres can do the job of all of these guys here combined, pretty much. So that's why they get the Doomstack status. So that there is the unit tier list for the Warriors of Chaos. Let me know in the comments below what you think of it. And I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you next time, fuckers. Bye.